Hey everyone, it's Carlos.
And Joseph.
And this is The Passenger Seat.
Alright, so first and foremost, we want to give a big thank you to everyone who supported us on our very first video. We really appreciate it. And it's something that's really cool for us because we didn't expect to get as much love as we did. So
yeah, I mean, thank you guys. And just,
hopefully you keep liking what we're doing, and hopefully we can
stay consistent
and continue to provide you with good entertainment, right?
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about something that's again near and dear to our hearts.
Yes.
And that is retro cartoons.
Specifically, because we talked about it, we went down, we put it to like the most minimal choices, so that way we don't expand the video too long. And plus, it's something that we grew up with. We'd only be talking about 90's cartoons.
Right.
Because it's very fond to us. We were born in the early 90's. That's something that we grew up with. We can't talk about Tom and Jerry, Looney Tunes, or Thundercats or whatever, because that's something that we do remember, but we weren't around for that time, so we're not going to touch upon those.
Well, they're not specifically in the category of the 90's.
We just narrowed it down. We narrowed it down.
So we're keeping it at 90's cartoons for this one. So things like Samurai Jack, Billy and Mandy, those are things that came out in the 2000s, so we're not going to include them in this video/podcast.
Yes. There was actually quite a few of them where I was like, you're not 90's?
Yeah.
Like, I was surprised.
Right. You get confused. You think, like, man, I thought this show was older, and it's not. And we also thank someone who commented on our last video mentioning retro cartoons. We actually had this in the works for a while. But yeah, thank you. We see you, Manu. So thank you for that. All right. So we're going to go by network and sort of, talk a little bit about the cartoons that network had, and then we'll touch upon one of the cartoons
of that network.
We won't go into depth for all of them, just because the video
would take a lot. It takes a lot of time. We had to narrow it down. Trust me, it was hard. Yeah. It was hard for us because there's so many great ones that it's hard to just narrow down to the one we like the most.
Right, and when you start to reminisce, it just goes on and on and on. But yeah, so first and foremost, I think we're going to start with
the one that least impacted us.
Yeah. Disney. So Disney, it seems, didn't have too many cartoons during the 90's. They had some that, and again, we mentioned things that like DuckTales.
Yeah, for those of you who are watching this video and going like, DuckTales, it was actually released in 1987.
Yeah, so that show we can't really include in this. However, the shows we will be talking about are Mighty Ducks.
It's Mighty Ducks, yeah.
Recess, and Gargoyles.
Which was our number one choice in the Disney section.
Right.
Was Gargoyles. So
yeah, for those of you who remember, Mighty Ducks was sort of like
these
alien ducks playing hockey. They
came from a different planet trying to save. It's a story that just tries to go back to their planet. We remember it, but not in detail.
Too fondly, yeah. No. Recess.
I remember that one a little bit more than Mighty Duck.
Right.
But if you ask me what the ending of Recess is, I would not be able to tell you.
Recess was basically just kids
having recess, having little adventures.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we're actually going to touch up more on the show Gargoyles.
I still say it to this day, Gargoyles was ahead of its time. It was a show with so much depth and story that you rewatch it and you still are like, wow.
Right.
It's that good.
It's definitely worth a rewatch. If any of you haven't seen it, I believe it's on Disney Plus. No sponsor.
No sponsor. It is on Disney Plus. I rewatched it when I was back in college. The story of Gargoyles, for those of you who haven't seen it, we won't spoil anything, but I'll give you this brief introduction into it, which the story centers around 5 gargoyles.
I think it's 5, yeah.
Back in the 1800s, they protected this king in a castle, and then one of the king's men snitched to the other kingdom. They went into war, and they had a sorcerer who cast a spell on the gargoyles that say, they will not be woken up until 1,000 years.
So is that 1800s or 800s? Because 1800 sounds a little bit too modern.
Maybe. I'm not gonna recall. Actually, you know what? I lied. They didn't get to cast a spell that they'll wake up in 1,000 years. They got cast a spell that if they go past the clouds, they would wake up.
Oh.
So the rich guy in the show, I don't remember his name, built
he put the castle on
top of a skyscraper and built it so far up that it passed the clouds, which, in theory,
right. The idea of having a castle on a skyscraper is just.
And then they woke up in the 90s New York.
Right, it's ridiculous. But yeah, Gargoyles was a really cool show, and it's one of those shows that I think people, once they hear the name Gargoyles, will go, "Oh shoot!" Like that show.
That show.
Like it's one of those shows that just doesn't come to mind like that quick.
It was such an amazing show especially for Disney, out of all things.
Right. It was one of those darker ones.
Yeah, I feel like
compared to other things.
Yeah.
Like The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. And then you had Gargoyles. Imagine having that in the same
I think
song.
Gargoyles was the only one out of them that sort of stood out, and till this day you can still rewatch it and be that way.
Okay, so our next network is going to be Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon was again a hard one for us to narrow it down to specific ones, especially our favorite one. I don't think our favorite one was that hard.
Yeah.
But there were so many Nickelodeon shows. There was a lot of them.
So many good ones and prominent ones. As a kid, I wanted to be one of those kids who participated in Get Slimed On. Okay. Yeah.
You wanted to get slimed on.
We all want to get slimed on.
Anyway.
Okay. So, a couple of our choices that we're not going to touch up on is Rocket Power. Right?
Rocket Power, we mentioned in the last video.
Right.
We skimmed through the video game, but Rocket Power is one I grew up with my brother. Just to give a quick skim through, kids who grew up in California and did every single sport imaginable at the age of 12.
Right. I know now. It's from California. Islanders.
That was a good one.
The other one would be, and we got our guy right here.
Oh, the other one was SpongeBob here.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to go in depth with SpongeBob because we figured everybody knows who SpongeBob is.
Everyone is iconic.
The characters, everything about it, Bikini Bottom. You could be born in the 2010s and you know who SpongeBob is.
Right.
It's just...
And I mean, as a kid, you had the biggest desire to have a Krabby Patty.
With jellyfish jelly?
With jellyfish jelly. Oh my... I always wanted jellyfish jelly. It seemed like the most delicious thing.
So as fun as that would have been, we just know that everyone knows who SpongeBob is.
Right.
So we wanted to go in detail with our favorite Nickelodeon 90s show.
And that is Hey Arnold. Hey Arnold!
Yeah, no, it was...
Yep. So Hey Arnold is, for us, it's an amazing show. It was, it first aired in 1996, and the show just had such a realness to it.
It did.
And it was about these kids growing up in sort of a cityscape.
It was the city life, yeah.
Yeah, it was based off of, the creator based it off of Seattle, a mix of like Seattle, New York, and I think maybe Chicago or LA, one of those two. And yeah, it had, it was funny.
It was, yes.
It had moments that were real. It had moments that were just heart-wrenching.
There were some moments where it was I think the creator really wanted to show, though, when kids grew up in the city, this is what it's like. It's not, it wasn't meant to be one of those cartoons that they're happy all the time. Like, these kids had like problems, and the city had problems.
Yeah.
The first episode in general, the most iconic one, where they dress as a strawberry and banana. They get thrown money to them on the side of the street, and presumably to sell drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that. it just had those elements that were just really, it was
real.
Yeah, it was real. We had that one episode that was probably the most. I cried during this episode, and it was the one where Mr. Lin reunites with his daughter.
Yes, I think that's always, if you were to search online, it's always on the top saddest stories or best written episodes. Mm-hmm. That one was always one of them.
Yeah, that one was really, really, really good. And again, with the thing of it being like real, there's an episode where I was gonna say Hey Arnold. When Arnold
football head,
when he's actually tutoring a kid in his class who's gotten held back a few years. His name's Torvald, and when he goes to his neighborhood, the first thing you hear in the background, if you pay attention, is a gunshot and somebody screaming. All you hear is pop, ah. It's real, man.
It was a good show though.
Yeah, for sure.
If you guys get the chance, rewatch Hey Arnold. Because even as adults, you'll start realizing like, wow.
Yeah. Okay, so last but not least, this is one of the big boys for cartoons in general. Obviously, it has it
as in the title.
Cartoon Network.
Yes, sir. That one was. We had to narrow it down to a lot.
Yeah. So don't get us wrong. Nickelodeon was definitely a powerhouse with cartoons. We can't deny that one bit. But if you think about cartoons, I think the first thing that'll snap into mind is Cartoon Network. So that's why we left this one for last.
I think especially 90's.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was Johnny Bravo, Dexter,
Two Stupid Dogs.
So many shows there that.
Was Cow and Chicken
was 90's, and it was also Cartoon Network.
Mm-hmm.
But we narrowed it down. One of the ones that we wanted to skim through was it Powerpuff Girls? Yeah. We chose Powerpuff Girls because it was very fond, like to our memory when we were young.
It was a really cool show.
It was a really cool show.
It was a really cool show. You had Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup. And they were great protagonists. They were great protagonists to the show. Their villains that they had their nemesis that they had to fight were really cool too.
Mojo Jojo. Him was a
the little sort of like a devil character with he was creepy, but it was great.
It was a good show.
It was.
Honestly, it was one of those ones where it finally showed like those female protagonists who just like really kill it.
Mm-hmm. But going on with those very interesting villains or nemesis was we'll go with our next show that we want to skim through. Courage the Cowardly Dog. And boy oh boy, if you watch Courage the Cowardly Dog, you must be into some gruesome stuff today.
Probably into thrillers and horrors. I mean, I loved Courage the Cowardly Dog, and that's what I'm into now.
Same.
So
it was. Listen, Courage the Cowardly Dog had great villains.
and storytelling.
Return the slab, or face my curse. That one. I don't know if you remember. There was one episode where it was like a head. It was like a floating head.
Yes.
That.
Or the CGI alien, I think.
Crazy, like it was intense stuff.
Yeah, as a kid, you're 9-10 years old, and you're watching this, and you're just
I know.
It was something. Out. It was freaking out. But if you rewatch it now, you notice that it was a good show.
Yeah.
It was the story writing was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so our final show or our main pick for Cartoon Network.
And I think our maybe our favorite show from that era
would have to be Ed, Edd and Eddy. Ed, Edd and Eddy!
See, I can't whistle, so...
See, no, I can't whistle anymore. Okay. But yeah, Ed and Eddy. Woo, what a show.
Such a good one. Yeah. That was one of my favorite shows. Growing up with my brother, we'd watch it all the time. You would want to know what those Jawbreakers tasted like. Why they needed to be this big.
Right. Man, the characters.
The characters made the show. It was... Even the
Rolf.
side characters made this show.
Yeah, you had Rolf.
Yeah.
Ed boys.
Ed
And then you had you had Jimmy, Johnny and Plank, Kevin.
Yeah. Sarah.
Naz.
Naz. Her name is Naz? God, what a name.
Hey.
She was a hot one.
She was a hot.
She was
the one that everyone had like a crush on. Yeah.
There was so many great episodes to that though.
But yeah, just great. Like the one that always made me laugh was when Ed eats his mattress.
He does eat his mattress. So was it the same? Was that the same episode where he had the toothache? Is that why he ate his mattress?
I don't know.
He ate like a brick because his tooth hurt.
Oh man. But yeah, the Ed's interaction with the Kanker sisters.
Yeah.
Was also like that first episode where they actually meet up. They get caught in the woods because I think they went bug hunting with Double D.
Yeah, I think so.
And they get caught in the woods.
And it only shows their eyeballs creeping up on them. Yeah, doing them.
And then they get taken back to the trailer park. They're put in robes. They're fed like these weird looking burgers that apparently were delicious. And
You have a fish tank with dead fish.
I think so. Ed and Eddie would be like that though. It'd be just weird.
The premise of the show is really simple. Kids who hang out in a cul-de-sac. We did it when we were young. You hang out with your friends outside your neighborhood.
Right.
Because by this time, like there wasn't anything like an iPad or an iPhone or technology like that to keep us focused. There was video games. Video games did exist, but you mainly hang out outside with your friends.
Yeah, I think that's mainly attributed to the fact that your parents would tell you like, okay, cut off the video games at a certain point and go out and like be somebody with your friends
and be back before the street lights turn on.
I don't know about that.
You don't remember that?
No. I'd hang out. Well, the cool thing about hanging like right in front of my house is that I didn't have to be back there for quite some time. But there were restrictions, of course.
So I think a lot of people could relate to that show. Mm-hmm. Such a good one. So many great episodes. Like the one where they needed to impress everybody in the pool area. So to impress them, they decided to wear Speedos, and it broke.
And then somebody ended up drinking it.
It was Jimmy.
It was Jimmy.
Jimmy drank it like straight up. I think it was Eddie's.
So nasty.
Oh, but they just do what do you call those? Scams.
Yeah.
Scams just to get quarters for jawbreakers. That was all they were doing, just messing up their teeth.
Yeah. But I think that concludes our ride.
Yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to let us know what you guys want us to talk about or want us to touch upon.
And if there's cartoons that you guys grew up with that we didn't mention here, because we know there's a ton of them, put some retro cartoons in the comment section.
Please do. Please mention which ones were your favorites or which ones you're most fond with that stay within the 90s, right? Because we recognize there's a lot of cartoons that are from the 80s or 2000s that we're going to get to those. Don't worry.
Yeah.
One of our rides we'll get to.
Yeah, definitely.
So again, thank you so much for having this ride with us, and hopefully you'll join us next time here in
the passenger seat.